everybody's doing really well, and welcome to week 2 of our vlog series here at NorthLight Residence, which walks through the progress of NorthLight Residence in general, but also gives a behind the scenes look at a developer's perspective and the things that you need to work on within a real estate development such as this project. This was a really busy week. There was a lot of stuff going on, and I'm excited to share the progress and some behind the scenes information. So we're going to start by covering the 4 main different departments that we're going to be covering every single week. The first one is marketing, the second one is sales, the third one is finance and accounting, and then the fourth one is construction. So starting with marketing, basically last week the main goal of everything was to start creating operational systems for each one of these departments and make some big steps to make sure that we had some of the basic things in place so that we could work efficiently. This week we're starting to actually implement those plans and start to create and execute. So from the marketing department, there was a few different things I had to do. The first was I had to work with our external marketing content team to receive our internal renders and make sure that those were exactly what I wanted, that they were perfect, that they illustrated exactly what I wanted to show from the final product of the interior of an apartment. And then I needed, in addition for the marketing content, I needed to make decisions on the perspectives, so basically the different angles of the exterior renders, which is really key. It's really important because it gives a whole feel of the project and it gives you the perspective of the exterior of NorthLight Residence. So it was really important to get that done and to make smart, diligent decisions on these different things. So I need to get that done. And fortunately, the interior renders that we got, I'm really pleased with, and we've started to use in our marketing campaigns already. So I'm very satisfied. I'm very pleased. I'm really happy with the work that we put in there. Beyond the render side, the photo side, I need to work on the 360 tour as well, which will be a main component of our website and some of the future campaigns that we do, especially with retargeting and things like that. And I received the first version of the 360 tour. It wasn't in full resolution for the imaging, and the navigation was a little bit finicky, but it at least started to give me a perspective on what the final product would look like, and started to give me some material that I could show to our sales team, to our marketing team, to my other partners in the project, to get them excited about what we're working on from the marketing side. So that was really important, and providing further feedback on ways to improve that 360 tour was another big thing I had to do this week. Outside of that, the biggest part of the week for the marketing was completing the setup and the integration within our CRM to make sure that our external marketing team and the work that they're doing with their technology integrated well within our system. So that was definitely the more difficult thing this week. It takes quite a bit of work when you're working with so many different technologies to connect everything and make it into something that just makes sense and works really clearly and operationally is effective and efficient. So working with different stakeholders, working with different companies, working with different technologies to get this done was key, and it was important to do this week, and fortunately we're able to get it done. I'm sure there will be problems and things that we need to work out as we continue to implement our campaigns throughout the next few weeks and throughout the next few months, but at least we have the groundwork and the framework and the structure of the system in place. And now all of our different teams, our external team, our internal team, are all connected and all the technologies are working in a coherent way. And fortunately, we got that done and we got something going, but it's a lot of work. It's something to definitely not underestimate. And as a developer and a project manager, it's something that you have to consider and understand will take time. It's not just a simple process, especially if you want to run serious, robust campaigns like we're trying to do across all the different social media platforms, across different real estate sites, across different non-online marketing campaigns and things like that. Making sure everything connects is difficult, but you have to do it to make it work. The next thing I had to do, and this was definitely the more fun side, outside of the renders. The renders are really fun too. It's really cool to get new pictures and see what's going on there, and you know, the image that you're portraying and the product that you're creating is exciting, obviously. But the next most exciting part of this within our marketing department was finalizing our first online marketing campaign and the strategy for that. So what I need to do this week and what I need to get done this week is I need to work with my internal team to get all the ad creatives finished. So that's basically all the images that we use. So in our case, in our first marketing campaign, we're using the interior renders that we received and then creating some graphics within those renders specific to the type of campaign that we're running. I also need to work with our internal team to finalize the ad copy. The ad copy is really important because if you have really bad ad copy, if you don't have the right phrasing, if you don't have the right verbiage, if you're not portraying the right message in your campaign, you're going to have really poor results, and that's going to cost you quite a bit of money. So getting that ad copy perfect is essential, and fortunately this week we were able to get our first round of ad copy done for our first campaign, which will launch next week. So that was really important. Then I need to work with both my internal team, which is basically more of the managers of the system rather than the implementers of the system, and I need to work with my external marketing team to develop and implement the retargeting strategy for this first campaign. So that was quite a bit of work. Making sure that all the technology was in place to get that done was really important. But yeah, we were able to get our retargeting strategy going, and over the next few days after we get these our first round of ads out on Monday, the retargeting strategies will start kicking in immediately within the next few days following that. So that's really good. We got that done. And then we also got the email follow-up campaigns completed, finalized from the text perspective and the technology perspective. So that was, again, an important part of our entire marketing campaign. There's so many different pieces to this puzzle that you have to consider, and the email follow-up and making sure that we're getting as many touch points as possible with prospective clients is essential. The main thing why that's so essential, to be very straightforward with you, is because within the Romanian market specifically, the average follow-up rate within the market is about 2 follow-ups per contact, per lead that you get from marketing. And for me personally, coming from a B2B experience in sales, and coming from, you know, the perspective that I want to build out a really proper and really good sales system, 2 follow-ups is not sufficient. It's not acceptable, and 2 follow-up touch points just won't get the job done. So beyond the calling that the reps will do and the emailing that the reps will do, we need to have a very good email campaign that follows up properly with these leads to get more touch points with them. So just alone with our email campaign follow-ups, we'll be getting at least 3 touch points there. We'll have the initial touch point of the ad itself. So before we even get into the calls and the emails that the reps are doing, we're going to have at least 4 touch points with different prospective leads, which again is double what the market average is in terms of touch points. So it's exciting from that perspective for sure. And then the biggest, outside of that, the next thing that we had to do, and it kind of connects into all this, is getting the actual ads prepared and ready to launch on Monday. So we were able to do all this work. We were able to work on all these different parts of the different campaign, and now we're in a good position to start on Monday and to start getting results. So I'm really excited to see how that goes, and that's what we're able to do from the marketing side. The biggest thing to understand when you're in the position of a developer or you're considering investing in real estate and leading a project of your own is there's so many different components within marketing that you have to be aware of. The technology is complicated, the different teams you have to implement, the different parts of the actual campaigns you have to consider. There's a lot of things that you need to consider in the marketing side of things. So being organized, being able to make sure that you're creating a system that makes sense and that's efficient for you is essential in creating an effective marketing campaign and a marketing department within your real estate development. The next thing that we're working on next week, outside of having our first round of ads going, is the brochures. So I want to focus most of my marketing budget towards online, because that is where people are being reached today, and honestly in this country, in Romania, that's where you get the biggest bang for your dollar. You get the most value for every dollar you spend. But we will be putting some money into some hard material, offline material marketing as well. So right now we're working on different brochures that our reps will have with them that they can provide to prospective clients as they come for listing viewings and things like that. So those are the next things that we're working on next week for the actual material. Outside of that, we're also working on the exterior renders and the 360 tour. So that's what's coming up for this week. From the sales perspective, we're finalizing the CRM process. So creating all the different workflows within the CRM, creating all the different rules surrounding the technology itself and the way that leads are assigned. For us, we wanted to create it so that it was automatically round robin assigned to different reps, so that it was very efficient in terms of assigning leads and the work, the actual quantity of work that each rep would have. So that's what we're working on for the CRM, alongside a ton of other workflows. There's too many workflows to get into in this conversation and in this video. It would be at least an hour-long video outside of this. So just know that there's a lot of work to do within the CRM, and that was something that we really focused on this week. We finalized our showing process, which is absolutely essential to this project and to real estate projects in general. What we wanted to do and what we decided to do is, obviously, you want to have a showroom where you have a finished apartment that gives off the right energy, gives off the right view, presents a project properly in terms of what the finished product will be. So they're going to start in the showroom, they're going to do all that. The second thing that we decided to do is show some work that's possible for these pre-construction condo apartments, and the things that you can do from a customizability standpoint, because we do have some buyers that have already started to customize their apartments and build the apartment in the way that they want. So we wanted to emphasize the fact that there is customizability available today, and there's things that you can do if you start to invest early that you may not be able to do, or you can save the money in doing it now compared to doing it later. And then the next thing that we wanted to convey is definitely, the view of our project. That's the biggest selling point of this project, is the fact that we're on a lake, and that you have access to water. You have sunlight coming on. You have sunlight that's not blocked in any way from any buildings, and you have a really cool resort style vibe for the project. So the way that you convey that is simply from the best views of the project, and in our case, that's from the penthouse views in a particular block within the project. So our showing process is going through meeting within the showroom, going through a customizability emphasis focused apartment, and then going towards a penthouse that gives you the total vibe of the project and what you can expect from the project. So we finalized that process, which is really key because next week we will start having showings and we will start doing serious work in that regard. The next thing that we had to finalize is the actual sales process and the expectations that we have for the reps themselves. So, like I told you earlier, the average follow-up rate within the Romanian market is around 2 follow-ups per lead, which for me is not acceptable. It's substandard. So I had to create a process that made sure that we were having multiple touch points and we were having many touch points with every single lead, and that we were maximizing the money that we we're spending in marketing, and we were maximizing the time that the reps were actually spending as well. So we created that process. We created the sales process for that, and we taught it to all the reps. And next week, once the leads start coming in, they understand what they need to do from the sales process perspective. So that's really exciting. That's really, really good as well. And then obviously in connection with the showing and the sales process, we had to train them as well this week. We also had to train them on the CRM. The CRM training and that process of training is really important. And as a manager and someone that's going to be watching the sales process, being the project manager and developer of the project, and wanting to be involved in that side of the business. I definitely need to focus on that training, because the thing with most sales reps, and I was a sales rep, so I can say this for myself, is unless you really emphasize the importance of the CRM and following the process correctly, they will try to find loopholes in the way that they go about the business and the process. So I really put a huge emphasis on that training this week. We spent time with the IT team that's setting up the CRM to answer any questions that our reps have, and we walked through the actual showing process physically as well, and we all had clarity about the sales process as well. So the training was really, really important this week, and I think it's going to be setting us up for success once the leads start coming in next week, which is obviously exactly what you want and is really important. And then the last part of the sales department, which we focused on this week, was ramping up the new hire. I highlighted last week that we were doing 2 new hires for the team, for our marketing team and for our sales team. We were able to hire both guys, and we're ramping up both of them immediately, and they're both doing a really good job so far. And I think that based off of all the training, based off of the understanding of the process, that they're both in a position to excel immediately next week. So that was really good, and it was worth the time to put in to make sure that everyone had clarity on what was going on there. The next department that we're going to talk about is the finance and accounting department. So this week I received the first budgeting report from our accountant, and it was good. It gave me a lot of clarity about where money was spent, how we're doing versus our budget, and that's essential within a project like this, and with any real estate project. You don't want to be over budget. Obviously it affects profitability, and it can affect cash flow, which eventually could actually affect your ability to complete the project, which is what happened with other developments that I know in the area. So this was really important, focusing on this and making sure that the budgeting report was exactly the way I wanted it was important. The biggest thing that I learned from the first report was, obviously the information about how we're doing versus the budget, but also I learned about the things I want to improve within our reporting system and the way that we reported these numbers. So I worked on that with our accountant. We're fine-tuning that process. We're fine-tuning the report itself, which is really, really good. And I think that each week it'll get better and better moving forward, because the thing is, you will learn things as you go through the process. And if that's just the way things go, that's how life works. You learn through the experience. So we're fine-tuning the process this week. We'll probably fine-tune it again next week, and I think within the next few weeks we'll have a perfect system in place. We already have a good system, but we're going for perfection. That's what we're going for. So that was important. And it also is allowing me to consistently evaluate decisions on a daily basis to make sure that I'm making smart decisions from a financial standpoint, which is essential. It's probably the biggest part of the job as a developer and a project manager. So that was something I really had to do this week, especially heading into a big week of construction and finishing this project. So that was really, really important. Um, I needed to look at the allocation of the money. So we created an original budget for the project. And the biggest thing is I decided to make a few changes this week. I wanted to put more money into the things that I thought brought the most value to the potential tenants. So I decided to put more money into the pool. I decided to put more money into the exterior, the green areas, more money into some of the amenities, such as these concierge vending machines that we're looking into, and some of the entrances to the blocks as well. And in making those decisions, it was a commercial decision that I think will bring more value, more ROI for that money. But I also, in making those decisions, I also had to figure out where I can get the money from. And so I made some decisions on areas where I wanted to reduce the budget and take that money and put it into things I thought brought more ROI to the project. And that's a consistent process. That's something that you're going to be doing every single day as a real estate developer, looking at these things and figuring out, is this really where I should be spending my money, or should I be spending it in other areas that will bring more value to the end buyer? So I made some big decisions this week on that side, which is the first week where I did that, and I'm sure this week, upcoming week, it'll be the same thing again. But yeah, I'm really excited about the fact that we're going to put more money into some of these amenities and into some of these shared spaces and some of the things that will really make a big difference in the lifestyle that our tenants will be able to enjoy when they move into this project. So I'm excited about it. I think it's well worth the money. And fortunately, we were able to find areas where we were able to make that money back. So that was really, really positive. And then the last department that we're going to talk about, and this is the most exciting part for me, because for me, being a relatively young, being a new, young real estate developer, getting into construction and things like that was super exciting and something I was really looking forward to. So the first thing, we did have one disappointment. Our elevator vendor is behind schedule by a week. They're supposed to start next Monday on the elevators. So hopefully we'll get that started next week. I have faith that we'll get it started. In Romania, at this time of year, being in August, the holiday season could really affect the availability of these teams. And unfortunately, that was the case with this vendor, so I had to readjust the timeline. It's not going to push back any of the major timelines in actually finishing the project, but the elevators are important, so getting that started is really, really important to us, and getting that going is essential. So it was a little disappointing that happened, but there's other positives for the week. We decided on how we're going to finish the pool. So like I was talking about, we decided to put more money into that particular amenity because it is a focal point of the project. And I'm super excited for the concept that we're going to be implementing for the pool, the surrounding area, and what we'll be able to provide for the tenants in that regard. So that was very, very good. And we also confirmed that the pool work is going to be starting next week on August 28th, which is really exciting. So that is those were some big highlights for sure from the construction side. Now, in terms of the thing that was the most exciting though, like the best for me personally, was that we started finishing the apartments themselves. So we started finishing the apartments in a particular block, and we have two blocks that are the most advanced. I decided to focus on those two blocks first because we want to finish those, start selling them. And again, as I talked about in the last vlog, getting cash flow in as quickly as possible will help to provide less of a need to get financing that will be expensive. So we started on one of those blocks, and I'm really excited about the work that's been done so far. It's really high quality work. You can see it on all of our social media platforms. We post about it every single day. But what we decide to do for the apartment finishings is first, we want to finish the electrical work in all the apartments, which we're doing. We start at the top floor of the block and are going to work our way down. That's the best way for the cleanliness of finalizing the blocks and finalizing the apartments. So we start with the electrical work for all the apartments. Then we go into the tile work for the bathrooms and some of the living space. Then we go into painting the walls and making sure that they're the right color, that they're perfect, everything looks good from that perspective. From there, that's kind of the main things that we're focusing on at the beginning. But once we start finishing the block itself, we're going to start going into the parquet finishing. We're going to go into the interior and exterior doors finishing, and then we're going to finish the terraces on the balconies of the apartments. So we started the work, and that's a strategy that we're implementing right now to finish this work in an effective way, in a coherent way. So I'm excited for that, and the really good thing, the really good news for me is that the first block, which is 20% of the project, which would be about 22 apartments, will be finished within 4 weeks. All of the interior, except for the railings and some of the doors. So I'm excited to get that done, and it's really exciting that the whole block will be done in 4 weeks. It's really, really, really exciting for me. And it was really cool to start working on that and to test and see what the quality of our vendors were in terms of getting that done. So I was really excited for that. We also cleaned out the roof gutters. That's basic maintenance, just making sure that that's all done because we do need to do some roof repairs, which will start next week. We replastered a majority of the exterior facades to make them, beautiful, make them clean, make it look exactly the way we wanted to look for our tenants. So we were able to do that for most of them, which is really, really good. Now when you drive along the highway over here out in Stefanishazos, you'll be able to see our blocks and see that they're nice and beautiful, which is really good. Next week, we are going to be starting the roof and terrace repairs, which is essential. There's not much work there to do. The roofs are generally in really good shape, but there's small things that we need to patch up. So we're finishing that work. In addition, we're going to be starting on the hydro isolation of the exterior facades. That's really important because we are close to a lake and close to a body of water. Making sure that that hydro isolation is done properly and done effectively is essential because it can lead to leakage. It can lead to water issues if we don't do it properly. So I'm excited to get that started next week and get that done as quickly as possible. We're going to finish the electrical work for at least 2 floors next week, which will be really good. As I said, we're going to start working on the pool, which is great, on August 28th. We're going to start the elevator work, which is essential too. And we're going to start the staircase work on the shared space within the block that we're working right now on the top floor next week too, which will look really, really good. And then the last thing that we're going to start next week, because we're going floor by floor, completing the floor basically 100%, is we're going to start painting the common space area on those floors as well, which is really, really exciting. It's going to help make that floor finished and make it look beautiful, and it'll be essential for when we start showing these apartments. So I'm excited to get that done. I think a lot of that work will get done next week. Some of the bigger things like the hydro isolation and the elevators will take more than a week for sure. But some of these other things will get done next week, which is really, really exciting. And really, that's the biggest updates from this week. And it covers all the different departments as we mentioned. We will do on a week-by-week basis. If you have any questions or anything, feel free to reach out to our social media pages on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, here on YouTube at any time. We'll respond as quickly as possible. And you can also reach out to me personally on any of those social media platforms as well. I'm active on those. I try to be as open and communicative with everyone as I can. So reach out at any time. And I hope you enjoy the content, and I'm looking forward to seeing and showing you what we complete next week.